Survivor Series War Games is finally here, and it feels kind of crazy to think that a year ago we were talking about the possibility of CM Punk possibly rejoining the WWE. Now, fast forward almost an entire calendar year, and we've got CM Punk on the OG Bloodline team in their War Games match. So this year's War Games, to me at least, has felt kind of put on the back burner a little bit in a way because there's just so much hype and anticipation around the new Netflix deal with Monday Night Raw. And given all of the recent debuts with NXT debuting on the CW and SmackDown going back to USA Network, and it really felt like they put a lot of effort in their promoting on Crown Jewel. And with their upcoming Saturday Night Main Event returning, War Games kind of feels like it's been lost in the shuffle a little bit compared to last year when all the hype was surrounding it because of CM Punk possibly coming back. And I think the match card itself is kind of evident of just War Games kind of being lost in the shuffle because we just got the full card announced last night. Some of the matches weren't even announced on WWE TV. So I don't know, maybe it's just me being me, but do you guys think that War Games this year has just kind of been lost in the fold, or do you think it's been given the respect and the proper promoting that it has in years past? Now, quick reminder before we get into the matches themselves, keep in mind that the list that I have is most likely not going to be in the same order that we're going to see on the PLE. I know I say this before every PLE preview video I do, but it's just something that I feel like I should say. So, the match that I have first is Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight for the United States Championship. And this match really had a quick build up for it because Shinsuke came back just a few weeks ago. It was not very long at all. But in saying that, it has been a very good build up for this match on a relatively quick playing field. And especially for Shinsuke Nakamura, and we have seen this a lot very recently with Shinsuke Nakamura because it felt like that every match Shinsuke had, he came into that match as the favorite to win because they did such a good job at building up Shinsuke, and he went into the matches and ultimately lost all of them. And I think we're seeing the same thing here. A lot of people are liking the way that Shinsuke is being shown right now as this just super creepy and dark version of Shinsuke Nakamura that is really working for a lot of people. Now, in saying that, I do think LA Knight will win and retain because it was just such a quick build-up. So I would not be surprised if we do end up getting a part 2 somewhere down the line. And I wouldn't bet the house on it, but it's not out of the realm of possibility to see interference from either Carmelo Hayes or Andrade or possibly both. Because I do think that there's still some left to that storyline. So don't be surprised, but don't bet the house on it. Next up on my list is the triple threat match for the IC title between Sheamus, Ludwig Kaiser, and the champion Braun Breaker. And this match has me really excited. Not only do I think it's going to be an insanely good match, but there's narratives with each of the superstars. You have Sheamus, who is looking to win the Intercontinental Championship for the first time. You have Ludwig Kaiser, who I still think is inching closer and closer to a possible singles run, which a lot of people still want. And then you have Braun Breaker, who is seemingly getting more and more popular week after week. And I think it's only a matter of time before he stops being this kind of tweener and goes full babyface. We saw it on the match that he had with Ludwig Kaiser on the most recent episode of Monday Night Raw, where the fans were fully on board with Braun Breaker. Like, he was getting babyface level chance. So I do think that a possible face turn is going to come sooner rather than later for Braun because he's just so damn good, so damn popular, and so damn entertaining that it's almost a foregone conclusion that he has to be a babyface at this point because a heel is not going to work unless they want to keep him as a tweener, which I'm all for, but we can have that discussion in a different day. Again, I like the narrative coming into this match, and I think the one wild card may be the Ludwig Kaiser singles run because, again, they've tried this before and it just went nowhere. But I do think that the story that they keep telling between him and Gunther is really starting to make it look like it could be going again. So maybe this is Ludwig's first big step, possibly as a singles competitor. Now, in saying all of that, I have Braun Breaker winning and retaining. Again, he's just too damn good and too popular right now to have him lose. And it just doesn't really make a lot of sense because with him being so popular, if Ludwig wins, Ludwig looks like the bad guy. Now, he could still have a singles run as a heel, but a lot of people do like Ludwig Kaiser. If Sheamus wins, you run the risk of people turning on Sheamus, and while I don't think that's a huge issue, I do still think that it's something to keep in the back of your minds. So again, I have Braun Breaker winning and retaining this match, which should be, in the words of Sheamus himself, a banger. From one match that should be a banger to another match that should be a banger, Damian Priest taking on Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And if their SummerSlam match was any indication on how promising this match should be, we could be in for a treat, possibly match of the night. While I'm not a huge fan that they keep going back to Gunther just calling Damian street trash and going back to that, I'm not a big fan of that, but the story that they're telling from Gunther's side, Gunther not looking like himself since his match at Crown Jewel against Cody Rhodes, and Gunther looking vulnerable for like the first time in his main roster career. And they really, really leaned into it on the most recent episode of Monday Night Raw, where we saw Damian destroy Gunther, not just on the mic, but also just physically dominating him, which is something that we typically don't see happen to Gunther. And what this does is it plants the seed of doubt that maybe Damian Priest could win. Maybe he could get the job done this time, and maybe he could beat Gunther. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I think Gunther is going to come to his senses, remember who he is, and retain as the World Heavyweight Champion. Again, the match itself should be a freaking amazing match. Again, we saw what they could do together at SummerSlam. I think that this match could be right up there when we look back at Survivor Series War Games 2024. I think it could be up there for match of the night. Up next, we have the Women's War Games match between the team of Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Naomi, and the recently added Bayley, taking on the team of Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. And this match just has been really frustrating to see unfold. The match itself should be a fantastic match. Given the talent that's in this match, it's going to be a fantastic match. It's going to deliver on every front, but the story itself just doesn't make sense. On the one team, you have Bianca Belair, who is teaming up with Bayley and Io Sky, two people that she had a blood feud with, basically. It just does not make sense that she is willing to tag with them, and I will say at least that they're acknowledging the fact that Bianca has had issues with both Bayley and Io Sky. And then you have on the other team, you have Liv Morgan and Nia Jax teaming up after they just fought tooth and nail at Crown Jewel. And then you have Tiffany Stratton, who is obviously the carrier of the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase, on the team that has both champions on it. I'm sorry, but it just does not make a ton of sense. I'm willing to put that stuff aside because, again, the match should be a fantastic match. And it feels like every PLE match that has Tiffany Stratton in it, we talk about the possibility of her cashing in the Money in the Bank, and this could be a very good opportunity for her to do it. However, I don't see that happening quite yet. One thing that I am curious to see is, are we going to get a reveal of who took out Jade Cargill? The theories of that are running absolutely wild. You have the obvious suspects in Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, but maybe it's somebody else. Maybe it's somebody who hasn't made their return yet. So I do have the faces winning this match, and that is the team of Bianca, Bayley, Rhea, Naomi, and Io Sky. So I do have them winning. The match should be good, despite it not necessarily making a whole lot of sense. The match should be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to this match. I'm just not a huge fan of how we got here. And that obviously leaves us with the men's War Games match between the OG Bloodline and the new Bloodline. Again, another match that is going to be fantastic. Maybe not necessarily from in-ring perspective, but from a storytelling perspective, which I think is always kind of the biggest factor when it comes to a Bloodline match. I'm not saying it's going to be bad by any means, but I think what we've come accustomed to with Bloodline matches is the storytelling aspect. And I think we're going to get a ton of storytelling in this match. Similar to the women's War Games match, how I wasn't necessarily a big fan of how we got here, I'm also not a huge fan of how we got here for this match. The last video that I uploaded talked about whether this match should be 4v4 or 5v5. It's obviously 5v5 now, and the fifth member on the OG Bloodline is CM Punk. And I will say, out of everybody that was a candidate, CM Punk makes the most sense. Putting his history with Paul Heyman aside, it also fuels the fire for what should be a fantastic and all-time feud between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Now, in saying that, I'm going to pick the new Bloodline to win this match, simply because the drama that's kind of in the background on the OG Bloodline side. You obviously had them lose a crown jewel, which I'm sure is going to possibly play a factor into it. And not only that, but I'm still not convinced Sami Zayn is on the OG Bloodline side full time. While my suspicions have kind of gone away a little bit, I still do think that there is a possibility that he turns and possibly does something, possibly costing the match for Solo and the new Bloodline. And then you have Paul Heyman, who obviously came back on Friday Night SmackDown recently and introduced CM Punk as the fifth member, and a lot of people have been connecting what Paul Heyman was wearing to Solo Sikoa when Solo was first becoming the tribal chief. And I will say, it is kind of interesting how they are the exact same outfits. Black suit, red shirt, red pocket square, everything down to a T is the exact same as Solo. And I think the big question in this match is, are we going to see The Rock? I don't think so. I think The Rock is just simply too busy right now. I think we, at best, could get a mention of him or maybe a little teaser for him coming back, but I don't think he comes back like he did at Bad Blood. So again, given everything going on the OG Bloodline side, I'm gonna end up picking the new Bloodline to win this match. So this is the part of the video where I always ask you guys to let me know your thoughts about my predictions in the comments. Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? Let me know why you either agree or disagree. And also let me know what you think about War Games possibly being lost in the shuffle given everything going on within WWE right now. We obviously are coming off of the heels of two big debut shows for SmackDown and NXT, and you have the hype and anticipation building for Raw on Netflix. Not to mention you have Saturday Night Main Event, which is coming up. So again, I think this year's Survivor Series has just kind of been lost in the shuffle a little bit. So let me know if you feel the same way about that. So again, let me know all that stuff down below in the comments. And while you're down there, swing by the description and click the link. That link is to our Linktree link. The Linktree link will take you to all of the social media platforms for this channel, and I do suggest going and checking out our X page. Aside from YouTube, I am the most active on our X page. I do updates for Monday Night Raw, sometimes SmackDown, and sometimes the PLEs. And I only say sometimes for SmackDown and the PLEs because, unfortunately for me, this is just the part of the year where my schedule gets really, really busy on both Friday and Saturday nights. So normally I would do updates for War Games this year, but I'm just not able to. But we are still doing updates for Monday Night Raw. Obviously, we just had Monday Night Raw last night, but we are still doing updates for every Monday Night Raw unless something unforeseen happens. But above all else, I want the X page to be a place for wrestling fans to go and talk about wrestling, especially if you're like me and you don't have a lot of people to talk to about wrestling. Because let's face it, wrestling is better with people who actually enjoy wrestling. So if that does apply to you, swing by the X page on Monday night, join in on the conversations, and maybe it is for you at the end of the day. So that is going to officially do it for this PLE preview. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button because it's free and it really helps out the channel. And as always, stay tuned for more content coming in the future. We'll see you next time.